Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Smudcast. This is episode number 848. Relax, it's only a movie by the... I don't know how to describe this gentleman. The
Illustrious?
the prolific, the the well-known, the guy who loves talking about politics in every medium of fandom he could find, Mr. Steve Shives.
Mainly Star Trek.
Yeah, mainly Star Trek, and that's where a lot of people like Star Trek. So when they say that, well, you can't enjoy Star Trek if you're a conservative, it's like, wait a second, Steve, what are you talking about? I can't enjoy a movie or a show.
Star Trek was all about the family. It's a very conservative thing.
Yeah, it's I can't read science fiction.
Philosophy and logic, very conservative things, really.
Yeah, Heinlein can't read Heinlein. Even though he was conservative. Yeah, there's all kinds of weird things Steve has said over the years where I sort of look at Steve and I look at these thumbnails and I just feel sad. I'm like,
Yeah.
Steve,
Yeah.
what are you doing?
All he had was an abusive feminist wife who mind-virused him, and now he has lost even that.
Yeah, we were talking
And he
about
does not realize he's free.
we were talking
You're
about
free,
these.
Steve. Free.
We were talking about these thumbnails. And I'm like, okay, he clearly doesn't like anything Trump. He doesn't like anything on the right. I don't know about the atheism slant. Couldn't tell you what his religion was. But to say Highway to Heaven was
Oh, he
woke.
was part of the atheism movement.
Oh, really?
But yes,
Oh,
big
God.
voice in there. But once that turned into atheism plus, which means it's not atheism anymore, but socialism, it eventually it couldn't be atheism anymore because when it's socialism, you can't criticize Islam anymore,
Oh,
which is why that whole thing's kind of stopped. Back in the day, all the West had to worry about was the corruption in the Catholic Church, which gives some justification to an atheist movement, especially with the mega churches in the US, which is really weird stuff. That was probably not very Christian. But socialism kind of likes Islam, whether it's the brown shirts or the Red Sox. They always work together, so can't criticize it.
you said Red Sox. I was like, okay, okay, different.
Oh well, right. US has different Red Sox. Rote Socke is a term for socialist in Germany.
Okay, good. Just to clarify, because that's people might get confused.
Here the socialists wear Red Sox.
All right, fair enough. Yeah, I just noticed that the top left-hand video, "Don't Let a Bad Movie Ruin Your Childhood," is a response to this one we're about to watch. So if you guys want to go down memory lane talking about TLJ, I mean, stick around. If not, do something more productive, please. And listen to Steve Shives.
How old is this video?
I think it came out a month or two ago. It must have been last year.
What?
Yeah.
What?
A month ago, yeah.
And these people call us obsessed with the past, and
Yeah.
my God, when did this movie come out? 2017?
The Last Jedi, it must have been around 10 years, yeah.
You could say that the only people who are still a bit obsessed about the old stuff are people who are waiting for Mauler to finish the Force Awakens
Oh, really?
thing. But yeah,
At this point, I'll
That
get out
thing-
of my PTSD before these guys let go of this shit.
yeah,
Anyway,
it's slow as fuck.
25 minutes of Steve Shives talking about nostalgia for TLJ. I don't know what he's going to say. Who knows? Let's find out. Oops. There we go. What happened to the audio?
That's his original microphone.
Sorry.
And has
There we go.
broken more times.
All right, try again.
Earlier this week was the anniversary of the theatrical release of Star Wars The Last Jedi, a movie which broke the internet when it opened, and has broken the internet subsequently a few more times since its original release. Of course, lots of movies break the internet, but something about The Last Jedi seems unique. The people who were upset about The Last Jedi seem to have stayed mad about it a lot longer, and seem to be angrier about it or disappointed in it or upset by it in some way a lot more deeply
Yeah, it's called
than the
Yeah,
disliking something, Steve. It doesn't matter what time of frame or year or whatever, how long ago it was. They still dislike it. Wow.
The way he is phrasing it seems to be like this. Oh, this was so far ago. Just forget about it. Just get
Yeah.
excited for the new thing.
Yeah.
Oh, that's his title.
Yeah, this is the way he phrases the argument.
Yeah, so it's the giant blunder of the ideology. So please don't look at the blunder. Just leave it in the past. So usually narcissists will also talk like that. When they abused you, they will just insist that you get over it because it is behind them.
Yeah, look at the first Indiana Jones movie and then look at the last Indiana Jones movie. It's the same vibe. It's like, I remember back in the 80s when Indiana Jones was awesome, and now it's not. And he's like, well, why can't you just enjoy the latest Indiana Jones? It was a few years ago. It's like, it still
It reveals
sucks.
something about the psyche of people like Steve. That there is absolutely no bar of quality that needs to be met.
It's like he can't accept the fact that, people dislike things he likes, and all you have to do is juxtapose something that you dislike and go, why do I still dislike that? Why would I still talk about that? And just go, oh, he must be just like me, but for a different topic. It's like, yeah, that's right, Steve. Why is that so hard to grasp?
Yeah, what he doesn't understand, because he cannot understand people different from himself, if he even can understand himself. That people have or dislike, like and dislike things for other reasons than he does. And he cannot accept those reasons either. Because the reason people were upset about TLJ was that it's the big thing, Star Wars, that's moved generations and that everybody loved. That was not a nerd thing, that was an everybody thing. And there was a movie completely devoid of logic on that budget, while insulting every single character. Of course people don't like that. If it hadn't the name Star Wars on it, nobody would have gone to the movies for it in the first place. And that's how all of these propaganda pieces worked. They attach their garbage stuff to a big brand so that people watch it. It's a trick. And people don't like to be tricked.
Yeah, sadly, that's happened to BioWare for the last time, and we're not going to...
Again.
I think it's the last time. There's no way they're recovering from it.
It happened again for the last time. Again.
We keep saying that. I was like, when is it going to go away? We don't know. Anyway, here's the Dark Sarah for the 5. Thank you, sir. 5 minutes in, and it's just man-child behavior. Amazing. I'm not sure what to call this. It's a bunch of things, but we'll just call it Steve Shives being Steve Shives.
And that is 46 seconds in.
Yeah.
Yeah, but in a way, I can envy Steve because he can still remain in this oblivious, ignorant, childish fantasy.
Can you
world.
imagine what he's going to be like for the next 4 years of Trump? He's just going to be out of his mind.
Exactly like this.
He's going to be like, wow, how could they have done? Oh my God. Yes, Steve, we get it. You don't like Trump. Anyway.
He wanted the
online discontent or a disappointing TV show or video game or what have you. One particular tweet thread, actually, I noticed was getting a lot of attention. And I'm not going to share with you the entire thread, but I am going to share with you what my friend Darren Mooney had to say.
You have friends? That's a very limited pool of people to point to. Unless they think exactly like Steve and like exactly what Steve likes in the exact way Steve likes them.
I'm sure it was the last person Steve could have blocked.
Oh, yeah.
And then decided not to, and that's his friend.
Maybe they're on Blue Sky together and they're just like chumming it up.
About it, you don't know, is a film critic and just all around good dude who I know through social media. And he retweeted a screen grab of this particular Twitter thread from this guy who I will not name. And I'll just read to you the screen cap, and then I'll read to you some of what Darren had to say about it. And then you'll get to hear what I have to say about it. Won't that be fun? No. So the original tweet says, 7 years ago, my family took me to see this movie, meaning the...
No. Not his family. My wife's family. That means he does not see himself as part of the family that his wife is a part of. He basically, he's a cuck to his wife's family.
Let's just say he's referring to his wife's side of the family. It could be that innocent. We don't know.
Maybe. But
it was one of the kindest things they've ever done, and one of the worst things that's ever happened to me.
God.
A thread. And then that person's thread goes on to describe how dismayed and disappointed and outraged he was by The Last Jedi, and I'll get into a little bit of that in a second, but here's what Darren Mooney has to say about that. I don't want to be flippant about this, and it's absolutely not a case of people who dislike something I enjoy are wrong.
Really? Really, Darren? You sure? Why did you comment in the first place then, if it's not what you think it is, or what it isn't?
No, the bot invalidates everything he said before.
Yeah, guys, this isn't me attacking a thing that I like that someone else doesn't. No, it's not that. No. Oh, okay, sure.
We just don't, whatever he can say what he liked about the movie, we just don't care is justifiably good enough to outweigh the bad that he doesn't care about.
If someone said they hated The Princess Bride, I'd be like, wow, good for you. I mean, I don't really want to argue with you because
I'd be interested in the why, but
yeah, I would not start replying.
I'd just say your loss.
I would not get angry. I'd be like, yeah, you obviously missed a lot of great stuff there, but I wouldn't start going, oh, this is not a case of people disliking the thing that I like. It's like, I would not even have that. Who would do that? Why would you waste your time with someone who inherently dislikes quality? That is weird. Anyway.
There is something deeply odd about the way that, for a lot of vocal online people, not liking a Space Wizard movie feels like a psychotic break.
Okay. There's two ways we could take this. One, he's just calling people names, and you could translate this as people who dislike the thing I like are poo-poo heads. That's pretty much this tweet. Or he actually acknowledges that some people did have a psychotic break watching the beloved film franchise go down in flames. That can happen. Now, maybe he's also doing part. He's saying, well, these people who dislike the thing I like are psychos. So he's calling them names, but also acknowledging that they had a very visceral reaction. I don't think he's calling them schizophrenic. I don't think he's calling them all these other things. So he's not that intelligent. Let's just go that far.
The reason is this is clear projection. Because the people we see having psychotic breaks repeatedly, constantly, are the people with Trump derangement syndrome, who even organize crying at the sky now. They go to some hill, get together, then they scream at the sky because Trump got elected.
Well,
it's who are the psychos here?
I see nothing wrong with people flipping out over something that they had expectations for decades, which we have multiple movies and books and games that have a standard of quality or a standard of expectations, and those expectations are turned on their head and everything's rewritten, and you're like, whoa, this is horrible. It's like me going to a burger joint and getting a salad, but it looks like an Impossible Burger, but it's not an Impossible Burger. It tastes like a salad. And I'm like, what is in my mouth? This is not even the attempt of alluding to meat. It's just a salad. So no, I see nothing wrong with people being very, very happy or very, very sad at a movie. That some movies are designed to be that way, like a horror film. They want you to have a psychotic break. They want you to flip out. The difference is TLJ wasn't a horror film. It was supposed to be something else, and people still flipped out about it.
But the other thing here is that by him calling it the Space Wizard movie, he is himself diminishing that it is a good movie.
Yeah, which is
his position. So
it's only
you don't. How dare you not like the silly movie that I like?
This is weird because I've said before in the past, I haven't said it recently, but it's never just a game. It's never just a book. It's never just a movie. The fan in you will say, this is esteemed. This is sacred. This is special. I know why it's good. It's the same with something that you have a standard for, which is good, And then for whatever reason, the next product of it is the exact opposite or the inverse or something horrible. That's fine. You can react any way you like. And if you don't accept that reality of some people, you obviously haven't talked to them. You're scared of them. You want to stay in your little happy bubble for whatever reason. I guess that's your prerogative. But if you don't understand the other side, you're going to say stupid crap like, well, they must be having a psychotic break. They must be having a schizophrenic episode. They must be having a fugue state. They must be having, pick any, psychological condition because I don't understand them.
And it's a very, very short path from you don't think like me, therefore you are wrong, to you do not fully agree with me, therefore we need to put you against the wall.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. I think there's more than just, they might just be weird. It's like, yeah, they're not crazy. We've talked about this ad nauseum. We've exhausted all the nuances.
Look, the thing is, these people are only ever projecting, and they are only ever caring about themselves. They are the ones who want everybody to think like them, and therefore they cannot accept that somebody thinks different from them. And because they project, they think that we constantly and forever will try to convince them that the movie is bad. We don't give a shit whether you like the movie.
Yeah. All right, 2 minutes in.
Because they want to convince us
Further
that
down
it's
in
good.
his thread, Darren goes on to say, I mean, I have obviously hated movies and books and shows and comics and paintings. That's an inevitable byproduct of caring about art.
So he was wrong about all those things because all of those things were actually totally great and he had psychotic breaks. Yes, I can do it too.
Think of any of those pieces of art as among the worst thing that ever happened to me. That'd be odd.
Yeah, but that's not what they're saying. This is a bizarre straw man. Oh, no one has said the worst thing that's ever happened to me is, I don't know, the sequel trilogy. And you could claim that, but that's just being hyperbolic.
Well, you have had a very nice life then.
Maybe. You're very, again, childlike awe of the Lucasfilms works, maybe. And then we get the Disney versions, like, ooh, that's not the same. What's wrong with that? Like that's just what they like. That's their favorite thing in the world. That's their favorite entertainment, and it just ruined everything about it. Like if I just know one video game franchise and the last episode is complete trash, yeah, I'd be pretty distraught too. Like I remember, I don't know why. This is a weird feeling. Must have been a subconscious thing. I was like, I hope I don't die before I get to play Mass Effect 3 because I want to know what happens. I want to know all this buildup has been. I want to really experience it to know what the story is all about. And I'm like, okay. And as soon as I got it, that sense of dread went away, and then it kind of came back slowly as the game kept progressing. Like, this doesn't feel right. This doesn't feel good.
Everything that your head came up with what could be in the future, even when you had no idea what it could be, was better than that.
It was like the opposite feeling of I gotta play this game I don't want to play it as much, and I really don't. It was like this repulsion. So when I get to halfway point, I'm like, oh, I gotta play this game now. Oh god. And it was this blasé vibe of, oh, they're probably not going to do that. Oh, it just kept going.
It's as if you got this absolutely amazing schnitzel with pulled pork on top, and as you keep going through it, and it's heaven, you start getting an upset stomach,
but you keep going because it's, oh, this is meat. This is good. I like meat. Meat is good, right? And you keep going. You're like, oh, what happened?
Then it just wants you to go to the toilet and eject everything from every orifice. Come back and sit down, and that's the rest of it. And it once tasted good.
Yeah.
But now it's associated with what you just did.
Yeah. Okay. Here's Tyler Preston for the 5. Thank you, sir. It's just a reminder, Steve compared buying Hogwarts Legacy to eating at a restaurant owned by a Nazi? What?
Is the Nazi a good cook?
Yeah, like what? Let's say the guy from Canadian Parliament, Hunka, who visited Parliament and he couldn't walk, he's in a wheelchair, was the owner of a restaurant or the chef of a restaurant. No one would care about his background. No one would even know his background if he was a good chef and, we went to his place and we ate and we're happy, and that would be that. Weird analogy there, Steve.
Well, from what we do know, every time you eat at a restaurant that has a halal certificate, you are technically supporting terrorist acts because that is a money laundering scheme.
Okay. All right.
Did you know that, Steve? There are bad religions out there.
Anyway.
Remember those atheism days?
No, don't bring that up. Almost at 3 minutes. Here we go.
I think it would be. I encounter that attitude in people. I do think it's odd to regard the viewing of a disappointing movie as one of the worst things that ever happened to you. And there is
because
a
sometimes
very
people
uncharitable
put additional value to the media they consume instead of just it being a piece of media.
Yeah. Imagine having expectations so high and you're so excited and there's this giant mountain of expectations and then just, again, the mountain gets inverted. You just drop so quickly and you're like, oh no, this is not what I wanted. That's the vibe, Steve. And maybe that person lived a very moderate life, met a nice girl. They had, no rocky romance. It was all straightforward. Everyone loved each other. You had some problems with the mortgage. You have to pay it off. Oh, no. And then you go see your childhood fantasy or memory of so awesome a time when you were a kid. And then it just gets ruined. That would be that'd be very sad. So I can't judge a person on what they like and dislike because how sad it makes them or how happy it makes them. But give me the reason why. And that person made a thread, so I'm going to assume there's a lot of reasons. So that's where it comes down to. And hopefully he'll read them out. And if they're stupid, then I might agree with Steve. But, if they're rational and he has reference, then fair. That was a big thing for him.
part of my nature that when I read something like that original tweet thread that Darren is retweeting and commenting on from that person who said, seeing The Last Jedi was one of the worst things that's ever happened to him, there is a part of me that immediately wants to go, oh, poor baby. Oh, you poor thing. Are you okay? Do you have people calling to check on you?
I mean, this person precisely said that this was one of the worst things that happened to them. So that means that they are not looking to be a victim. I hate this, the way leftists interpret everything.
Yeah, instead of just
they
saying...
They always operate on the victim narrative.
Yeah.
So everything must be about victimhood.
Instead of just saying, oh, this guy's just a big baby, he has to put on a show. Oh, you're big baby. It's like, the guy doesn't like the thing. And he gave you reasons. And Steve is reacting like a child would. Like a bully would. Oh, you can't do 5 push-ups. Meh, 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 you're a little boy. Like, so what? He's a little boy. Let him be a little boy. This is childish stuff. Adults can enjoy and not enjoy things and give reasons, and that person did. Now, again, if they're stupid, if the reasons are like, I didn't like Kylo Ren's lightsaber, it's like, okay, that's pretty silly, but fair. There's lots to dislike about that lightsaber, but you can say that. Give us a reason.
Things to dislike in that movie.
There's plenty to dislike. Yeah, exactly.
You saw a bad movie? Oh God! Oh honey, are you sure are you sure you're okay talking about this? Because this is obviously still a very traumatic thing for you. Oh my God! You saw a movie you didn't like? There's a part of me that would immediately go there, and I don't know anything about this guy other than
Steve is really good at mimicking a psychotic crybaby breakdown.
Yeah,
he seems to have a lot of experience with that.
Maybe his talking to conservatives about Star Trek really broke him. Like that's his big negative thing. Like his
Did
wife.
he talk to conservatives?
I'm going to assume it happened. That's why he never does it anymore, right? Because he's scared.
I think he only talked to his wife while he was still in her clutches.
Well, that's what I mean. The wife leaving him wasn't a big deal. It was like, whatever. But the conservatives talking about my favorite hobby, that was a big deal. I can't deal with that anymore. That'll never happen again.
Steve, do you remember that wonderful Voyager episode where Janeway and Chakotay got turned into reptiles and had babies?
Oh, that was not Chakotay. That was Paris.
No? Harris?
Yeah.
Oh. I thought it was Chakotay.
They got stranded on a.
I don't rewatch that episode every so often.
I know. Yeah, it was Tom. It was Tom Paris because they made a toy out of it. I remember that.
Oh no!
No, Chakotay and the captain got stranded on a planet. They thought they were going to have to live there because of some virus they had. That was like the first season, but then they got cured, so they came back. It was like the funniest.
Yeah, Paris was the one that got turned into a lizard.
Because he broke the warp 10 barrier or some nonsense. You're like,
which then was later decanonized.
Yeah.
Steve. The episode was so bad it was decanonized. We don't talk about it. We would like to do the same thing with TLJ, with everything Disney Star Wars, for that matter. And what was your position on that particular Voyager episode? Did you like it, Steve? How dare people did not like it? Why would they have psychotic breaks over that silly episode of Star Trek? It's just an episode of a thing on TV about space wizards, kinda, because, well, all the technology there is kinda magical, isn't it?
I would imagine breaking the whatever warp barrier is turning you into a slug or whatever lizard is kind of magical. It's like God put a curse on like technology. It's like, oh, don't use fusion. You're a lizard now. Like what? What? Why?
Well, the idea there was that that kind of movement jumbles time all together, and that makes your evolution go weird, and so things happen.
It was,
but then later we just have trans warp. It doesn't trans you anymore. It's just faster warp.
Yeah, it reminded me of the TNG episode where everyone got reverted back to their generational.
God, the ancestors.
Yeah, like Barclay turned into an ant or a fly or a spider, and Troy was a fish, and Worf was some sort of giant creature. And it's like, what the hell?
He was a bug.
They make no sense.
Klingons are bugs.
Yeah, humans are all different. Like every race of human turns into some vestigial creature. Like what? That doesn't make any sense. Anyway, back to Steve.
To share with us about how awful seeing The Last Jedi was for him with his family, that they did for him as a gift to show.
Yes, Steve. Yeah, that's how bad. He felt so bad because the movie was so bad. And he was with his family, and the family was doing them a good thing, and he's so sad about it. That's a very conflicting emotion. You get it, Steve?
When you do something with your family, Steve. Your family, Steve. Family. Do you know what that is?
Does he have
not
kids?
Vin Diesel.
If you do something with your family, you want it to be nice and fun and enjoyable and positively memorable, not negatively memorable. You don't want to think back on, hey, do you remember when you gifted me going together to that sci-fi franchise movie I really like, and then it turned out to be utter crap? Yeah, that was great, wasn't it? Steve, do you understand feelings? Or do you only have them?
Him, they care about him, and he was.
I'm sorry, this is insulting. Like he's literally making up this story of this man who obviously did not have a good time, and he's laughing about it.
He looks like a goblin.
Like he's staring into the camera. I can't believe this guy had a horrible experience with his It's like, yeah, he did. He's being honest. You can talk about that in honesty, Steve. And all you have to do is talk to this man and say, why do you feel that way, dude? And this is silly. This is not like, oh yeah, Steve, you're right. This guy, how could he possibly have an emotional reaction to a piece of media designed to do that? Designed to make people. Wasn't that the point of Rian Johnson's movies? Half the people should love them and half the people should hate them, or something like that. He doesn't want anyone to.
Yeah.
Like
Cue the Phantom Menace interview.
Yeah.
He achieved his goal, and then he was upset about the goal because people who hated his movie was actually not an emotion that he could work through.
Yeah, and I don't want to start evaluating fandom or people in the fandom as being more emotional or less emotional, because we all have our own level of emotionality. We all have our level of lore and how we could process it intellectually. We can think about it scientifically. We do all these things. But good for him for having his emotion and being honest about it, positive or negative. It's why he had it, which matters. Remember that stupid, I can't remember who it was, the guy's name. He was that fan watching the episode 9 trailer. Or was it the episode 8?
The guy with the mark on his cheek?
Yeah, he's got the glasses. It's like he's in a hotel room or something, and he's watching, and he's crying. Like, he's like, he's so excited. And I'm like,
I'm trying to remember the name because I think, what was it? Mike brought it up during the Arkham Smud Talk. I'm trying to remember the name.
Yeah, good for him. He's really excited about a trailer. Now, we could say that's kind of childish, but if he likes a thing and it's just a marketing ploy, the marketing is doing the job. He's going to go buy a ticket. So he's a fan. Good for him. Now, why he's crying, why he likes the movie, if he did, I don't even know. It's just the trailer. I imagine he liked the film because he's that sort of mentality. That's where we criticize and say, why is that? Then we could say, oh, this reasoning is silly. This reasoning is childish. This reasoning is intellectual. Whatever.
Wasn't the reason that his what was it? He shared Star Wars, the passion for Star Wars, with his dad, and then his dad had died before some of the sequel movies had come out, or something like that.
Wow, that would do it. Yeah, that's personal.
As far as I'm aware, that is the reason. Regardless of the quality of the movie of those movies, but
yeah, I remember.
That's fine.
I remember going out with my grandfather watching Jurassic Park for the first time. I remember the gigantic movie theater we were in. It was during the summer, but they cranked up the AC and we were in our shorts. We were freezing watching this giant screen with Tyrannosaurus Rex running around. Like, I remember those things. And then you go and watch Jurassic World or whatever it is these days, and you're like, oh, that's not the same feeling.
The last movie ends with what was it, locusts or something, even though it's about dinosaurs.
I just trailed. I think
grasshoppers. That's what it was.
I think it was after the third one, and I was like, yeah, I can't keep watching these.
Yeah, isn't the only worthwhile Jurassic Park movie the first one, and that's it?
Yeah,
yes.
Probably. The second one was kind of weird. The third one was like, oh.
I know with Terminator, it's the first two that are the ones that matter. Well, I've heard people, just as an aside here, I've heard people like Salvation a bit more, but that one's still on below the par.
Yeah.
But that being said, it's like, well, to go back to the example of the guy that cried about the trailers, I'm just like, it's like, yeah, it's like, to Smud's point, it's like, yeah, you have those moments with the people you care about. It's like, if that's the reason that he cried over the sequel trilogy trailers. It's like, okay, fine, because he shared something with his dad, and it's like his dad passed away before those movies came out. It's like, that on its own is no big deal.
Yeah, and it's the same story with people who I remember reading about posts on Mass Effect saying, I loved ME2 or ME3 because I was going through a hard time. And because it's a drama story and there's lots of dialogue and there's characters to connect with, I was crying. I was getting through, Miranda's story about her sister or whatever. It's like, okay, great. The drama worked and you had a cathartic moment. It did the job. And that's why you love the film, not because the movie or the game, not because the game is inherently good drama, but the drama worked for you. And that's good.
Yeah, it's that more of the subjectivity playing into it. It's like, which on its own is not all that bad. It's just a matter of when you look deeper.
Yeah, and we're not here to criticize people for having their own subjective experience. We're here to look at what makes the thing work, and from objectively. So even if you didn't have trauma or cathartic release needed, you can actually go, oh, this is a form of quality compared to other things that we can objectively observe. And that's fair. And we don't have to laugh at people being emotional. It depends on why. And every time I think of Steve and his emotions, I'm like, he's operating on a very low level. He's not actually understanding why people think differently or can think differently. And that's why it's hard for me to look at the screen. Because if I'm looking at this guy and he's like, at a bar or I'm sitting him in public and he's talking to me and he's this serious, I'm like, dude, you have to read more books. You have to go talk to more people. You got to do something else. Something's not working here. You did not grow up well.
He's just going to rewatch his Star Trek VHSs. And not understand the philosophy in them.
Oh yeah, the originals. That would help.
The OT?
Yeah, the TOS.
TOS, sorry.
Yeah, the stories about Americanism and being independent and free and non-racist and all that jazz. I'm sure he's already talked about them, but from his perspective, not.
Oh no, they all TNG, DS9. They all have philosophy in them. That's the point of good science fiction.
War and religion, DS9, yeah.
And a lot of people in their young days, a lot of Trekkies, have. Star Trek was a good. I don't want to say a crutch. It was a good tool to help you think through things or think about things you haven't thought about before. And because good science fiction leaves the answer open, as I've said in other places, just like the Orwell does leave it open, instead of preaching the answer that you are supposed to have to you, it helps you to think. However, there seem to be people who never start thinking. They just look at the screen, ogle the nice pictures and special effects and think, ooh, space. And that's Steve.
All right, here's
and
the
that's
sir.
Steve with Star Wars.
Thank you again, sir. I'd say Steve is a joke, but jokes are funny. He's sad and pathetic. There are parts to his reasoning which I don't agree with. And there's something about his expressions about this gentleman he disagrees. Like, I don't know why he's on Twitter reading this stuff he doesn't like or doesn't care for. It seems like he has nothing better to do.
He's addicted to social media, to the negative loops. That can happen too.
Yeah,
it's like doom scrolling.
It's like, he's bad though, so it's one of the worst things that ever happened to me. Like, all I know about him is that. So it's entirely possible, perhaps even likely, there's the charitable part of me coming out, that in every other way in his life, this is a very nice, kind, wonderful.
Or he's hyperbolic. Get on with it, Steve.
Wonderful man. And his family loves him, and his kids, and his wife, and his parents, and everybody else. They all think he's the best. And if I met him and we talked for a few minutes, I might walk.
You would never talk to him, Steve.
Away from any interaction I would have with him and think, oh, what a lovely guy, what a charming fellow, right? That's entirely possible. I'm not passing judgment on this guy.
Yes, you are.
As a person and his entire life based on these tweets that he wrote about his experience.
Yes,
Then what was that pantomime that you did in the beginning?
Yeah. If you actually thought that, Steve, you wouldn't have actually written a script and said that.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that? Like, oh, I didn't think this. You just did. Oh, I didn't mean it. You just said it. What are you doing?
It's the most basic form of gaslighting a narcissist can employ.
This is so, like, I don't want to say disingenuous, but it's like, what are you doing, Steve? Do you actually dislike this guy for his belief? Or you say, hey, I don't know. I don't have no idea. It's like, then what's your opinion on the guy? What's the point of this video? You're on the fence?
This is why you only ever get the Paris Commune and never Utopia.
All right. Well, let's see if he's on the fence. Let's see if he actually goes into the tweet thread and talks about it. That'd be nice.
I am passing judgment on his opinions of The Last Jedi, which are complete horseshit.
Oh, okay, here we go. So he hates him. he's a horrible person. I disagree with him because
His opinions are wrong.
He's in the wrong think. He's not with my right think. And my friends.
He doesn't believe what I believe. He doesn't think what I believe. He doesn't feel what I feel.
I would.
He's wrong.
We could pick anyone in the past 5, 6, 7 years. No preparation. Let's talk about The Last Jedi, Steve. Let's have a debate. Let's just go. Let's just pick any scene, any plot, any character. We'll just do it right now. I'll tell you what's wrong with it.
Smart, would you actually?
With Steve? If you can get an email going, I don't even know how to connect to this guy.
Well, nobody does. He blocks everyone.
I've written in his comment sections over the years. He's never replied, but he does heart other comments, so he does read them.
Of course he doesn't respond to you yet because we nail him on everything he's bullshitting about.
Yeah, well, we try.
Judgment on his grotesquely overwrought emotional reaction to seeing The Last Jedi and not liking it. Now, full disclosure, and those of you who have watched my video...
Wait. Did he just said that the guy had grotesque emotional reaction?
Yes, while Steve is having very grotesque emotional reactions. Everything is projection.
Yeah, the guy saying that he didn't like the movie and bringing up his reasons somehow becomes a grotesque emotional reaction. Like, I am surprised we don't have proper holographic technology with the narcissist projecting this much.
Well, you would need to. You'd need at least 3, if not 4, narcissists and align them in a tetrahedron so that their projections could create the hologram.
Well, maybe
that's difficult.
Maybe his threat is actually hyperbolic. I don't know. We're gonna find out.
But I really like The Last Jedi.
No
I think
shit.
The Last Jedi is a great movie. I think The Last Jedi is, for me, I think probably second only to Star Wars and The Empire Strikes Back. Other than those two, the first two, I think it's the best Star Wars movie I've ever seen.
Why?
I really, really admire it on every level. I think it's a great movie.
Which level? Give me one.
And why do you look so lost, Steve? You make such a lost face.
I mean, I would rather watch the Star Trek movies than the TLJ.
Yes.
It is so. The only reason you watch TLJ is to watch how not to do a story.
Also, can we go back like 10 seconds? I want to know at which part he is shaking his head.
Okay.
Because he is speaking and then he's shaking his head during the speech, so there must be something there.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. The body doesn't lie.
Those two, the first two, other than those two, I think it's the best Star Wars movie I've ever seen. I really, really admire it on every level. I think it's a great movie. And I think it's a great Star Wars movie specifically, but just a great movie.
Really?
No, it isn't.
Movie.
Every time he says it's a great movie, he has this tiny micro shake of his head.
Yep.
So
every time he is lying.
So when we say something is a good medium, meaning we take the medium as a whole, it's very generic, so whatever that means. But he said specifically also a good Star Wars movie. For that to be, he has to have standards for Star Wars. Now, I have a few. Everyone knows them, either whether you're aware of them or not. Space battles, force battles, or use of the force, lightsaber battles, coming of age story, heroic journey. Those are the basics of Star Wars. You could say good versus evil, and nature versus technology or whatever. Yeah, those are themes. But those would be the standards, and we've looked at those standards. We looked at the lightsaber battles. We looked at the force powers. We looked at all these spaceship battles. They look impressive. They sound impressive in TLJ, but when you actually watch them and what happens, they are the worst we've ever seen. Even going back to McKellen's fight scene in the first film, where he's like barely swinging the stick and Darth Vader's like stomping on his coat. That was better than the throne room fight scene. The choreography was so bad there. And even stuff.
Random video games had better cutscenes.
Oh, for sure. I mean, that's.
And they had Rebel Assault 2 had filmed cutscenes with actors.
Oh yeah, but there's.
It looked like a normal. It almost looked like a Star Wars movie that was just cut up into sections with gameplay in between, and that was better.
Like we've gone over, we've seen experts go over stunt film, special effects guys. I think we saw who's our sword and shield dude on YouTube who always talks about swords and castles and.
Metatron.
Metatron's one of them. There's a few guys. Yeah, there's a few guys. They've talked about how bad it is. It is that like anyone who's like pays attention and just rewinds it for 2 minutes goes, what did she kick 3 people? How did she? The disappearing dagger.
There was no indication of a force kick.
Right,
Yeah.
Sure, yeah. There was 0 force powers in that fight. The way that Kylo was fighting was stupid. Everything about that was poorly choreographed.
I mean, basically every fight scene in the sequel trilogy is the bat swinging, and that is the furthest it goes. It's just not very good.
I look for anything more than these actors and actresses would have to actually train something and learn something.
Mhm.
And while I do believe Adam Driver could and would, I don't believe Daisy Ridley could and would.
They
Just like they in the Shogun remake, which
Yeah.
was equally
Ugh.
horrible.
They could have done something with her because of her frame and her build to make her movements like I don't know, like Spanish fencing or something light and quick.
Something
could
that
work.
befits her frame.
Yeah. Exactly.
But that kind of requires that you are able to move a specific way, and I do not think that.
It
I'm
would
sorry,
mean
but
that
I-
she would actually have to learn that
Yes.
skill.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And you don't just do a 2-hour instruction once.
Oh, that was funny. Do you remember the whole thing where the 3 guys are waiting for her cue and she's
Yes.
late and she's
Yes.
Yeah,
they
and they
wait
used that scene.
and they stuck with it. Like that was like cut 1. Could you may have done like
That was
3
your
other cuts.
best. That was
Yeah.
your best cut. But then throw around 2 million, 20 million on that stupid animatronic that they then didn't use.
Which one was that?
Or was it the milking thing?
Oh yeah.
Well, that was a lot. I don't know how much. I know we talk about the opulence of the Canto Bight scene,
Yeah.
and even Hamill was like, "That's the most expensive set I've ever seen." It was like 30 million just for that little glass and all the props, all the makeups and all the stand-ins. They showed filming of the guys, like you're going to be this guy, you're going to be that guy, and you're going to walk around and do this, like all
Did
this
you only
money.
see it for 20 seconds.
Oh yeah, it's so fast, and then they shatter it.
And it doesn't look like the most expensive movie set ever. It's just this clean. It looked Star Trek clean. There wasn't ornamentation or anything. It's just any scene shot in a Las Vegas casino looks more real and alive.
And the sad thing is, the entire setting and scene itself, the planet, is useless to the story. There's no reason that any of that had to happen.
It's a complete red herring.
It's opulent for the sake of it, and Ryan Johnson was given a blank check, and I still can't believe it that they just blew all that money. It was hundreds of millions of bucks.
Well, he subverted everyone's expectations by that storyline meaning something, and then not.
All right. Well, here's a Mr.
else
Legacy for the $4.99. Thank you, sir. It's always the whole 2 dude kissing is good for the story. What? And they never explain the big why. Just say positive affirmations and call it a day. Are you saying 2 gay men in a story is good? I'm not sure.
Might be. It's not really a sentence.
Okay. I think I know what he's getting at, but yeah, any inclusion, you're like, all right, why do we have this? Well, it must be good because current year or whatever. Anyway, Steve loves the movie. We get it.
The opposite opinion of this guy, quality of The Last Jedi. And the reasons that he goes into some detail about as to why he didn't like The Last Jedi, to me seem like frivolous, silly reasons that I find impossible to take seriously. One of the things he says in his...
Oh, he's not going to show us?
Thread is, well, as soon as, at the very beginning of the movie, as soon as Luke throws away his father's lightsaber, I knew that I wasn't going to like this movie.
That's not frivolous.
Yeah.
No.
Are you joking?
And also, he was again doing the head shaking thing when he said that there are no, that the reasons are not good. So he probably, this whole video is him just lying and misrepresenting everything.
Just, post the tweet. It's a thread. Just copy and paste, put it on the screen. That's all you got to do.
Well, Steve has to remain in the cult, for otherwise he has nothing. So he has to stick with the narrative. He cannot imagine speaking the truth because he would be in a world with nobody in it.
Yeah, lots of people hated that scene as soon as they saw it. Gut reaction. A lot of people were like, well, maybe it's, we're going to learn about Luke. And then it's like, not really. We get lied to about Luke twice, and then we finally get the truth, like it's some mystery what happened to him. I was like, no, just tell us what happened. Show us what happened. Don't go through all this stupid flashback nonsense.
Yeah, and it could have been the wise mentor tricks the student by teaching a lesson about these things being attachments and that they don't actually mean anything, but it's still important, yada yada. That it's this, that he's trying to test the student with that movement.
Yeah,
because you have that trope in martial arts movies where the great master that you go to learn from rejects you and mocks you, and only after being persistent against that rejection will you actually be accepted. And this could be such a scene, but it wasn't.
Yeah, and they made fun of I'm not sure if a lightsaber is a laser sword or a plasma weapon or whatever, but the idea of a Jedi just throwing this weapon away when we have in the prequels where I believe Obi-Wan's like, this is your life. He tells that to Anakin. And it's like, that's a weird thing to say. It's just a tool. It's just, I mean, it is a weapon, but it's a useful weapon, but it's just a tool. The power of the Jedi comes from the Force and their connection to it.
How much lore there is in obtaining these, in building them. You build them yourself. You have a quest for the little crystal inside. All of that comes together. That's why you can't really dismiss this as, oh, just throw it away.
And as you were saying, it could have been a test for how she would react to this sort of throwing away of this object that to her was like giving her visions and all this stuff, but to him it's like, what's your point? You didn't come here to learn to use a lightsaber. Why are you here? And that could have been something. That could have been a whole like reformatting what it means to be a warrior or a Jedi or going on a quest, and tools are just that. You should focus on your self development and your growth, not who has the sharpest blade or whatever. It's like, do something along those lines. But no, he literally just throws it away. Like he does not care. He doesn't want her there. He wants her to go away. That's not Luke.
You also have another aspect in it, because since it was his father's lightsaber, Anakin's lightsaber, it is also the symbol of absolute redemption of somebody who has fallen to the dark side as deeply as Darth Vader did. And still redemption was achieved because of how much Luke believed in his father. That's all in there. And that is all thrown away. That's why people didn't like it. And that's why the dismissal scene probably doesn't work. Or it maybe could have if it had been played out as a classic martial arts movie.
I'm trying to remember, did she ever tell Luke that it was giving her visions and led her here and this was like a big important thing to her?
Rey's talked about anything ever in any movie? Did she have lines?
Like, can you imagine like finding this old wise man and saying, this magical thing led me to you. Do you have any idea how that works or why? because I don't remember that in the film. That would have been a big. If I was Rey, I'd be like, "Hey, do you know what this thing does? What is going on?" I had visions of you and your dad and all this other crazy shit.
Have you tried turning it off and on again?
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway,
Done here. Right? Like, if that's the beat where you're so attached to Luke's lightsaber, to his father's lightsaber, you're
the character.
It is also Luke's lightsaber. It is an heirloom.
Is he like insulting the fans who like X-Wings and C-3PO and R2-D2?
It's
Yes.
also the first lightsaber any Star Wars fan worth their salt thinks of off the top of their head.
Yeah.
It is.
He's
It's
an-
the one that is shown in anything for the franchise. Period. Because that's the one.
He is himself right now insulting Star Wars.
This is like, look at his face. Like, are we gonna care about this man's opinion?
No, we laugh about it
It's
because
like-
his opinion is the
When
silly one.
when I criticize or make fun of Mass Effect fans, I have good reason. I'm gonna like look at the camera and laugh at you. Maybe if you have a stupid theory like the indoctrination theory, which does have some merit, I'm not saying it's pointless, but that's because everything else is horrible in the show, in the game. Anything would be better than what we got. So yeah, crap is bottom of the barrel, but you know, this isn't so bad. Yeah, you're right. It's still pretty bad though. But his opinions are, dude, like, just give the guy the opportunity to explain himself, please. Let us make the opinion. Let us understand where he's coming from, not you just laugh at him. This is a big deal. Luke is a big deal. He's a big deal in the books. He's obviously a big deal in the movies. Wouldn't call him the Last Jedi for nothing. And you're like, it's just a thing. It's just a toy. Okay.
And he shouldn't be the last Jedi. He should be the returned Jedi.
Oh, that was that wonderful joke about how all the Star Wars movies titles are misplaced. To rearrange them.
Yes.
I mean, within the context of the EU, Episode 6's title makes perfect sense.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Because the Jedi Order returned because of Luke.
Yeah. And Luke is the Jedi returning after the Jedi were all gone.
Was
He is the new Jedi, and he brought back Anakin,
was I'm
who
trying
is
to remember.
also a returning Jedi. So
Was-
the title makes sense.
I was
The
gonna say-
title
I was
on
gonna
its
say-
the title on its own makes sense, and then the EU gave it a much greater meaning.
I was
with what
going
they
to
ended up doing.
mention the episode 9 being the Phantom Menace because it's like, where did this guy come from again?
Yeah, like you said, the whole misplaced titles thing. It's like it is amusing to say the
Yeah.
least.
Anyway, I always thought the titles were a little bit off, but you know, that's fine.
Yeah.
to that lightsaber, which doesn't exist, which is just an idea in a film, which is just a prop. You're more
Are you serious right now, sir?
The fiction argument.
How can he talk about anything Star Trek, about anything media?
What the entire plot of episode 7 was Rey finding the lightsaber and getting visions and what to do with it. And you're saying it's just a prop? What?
Now he's getting to the it's not real argument.
What?
It's you disagree with me, so whatever you say is silly.
Okay.
He's only mocking.
He's just
And he's not
randomly
making
choosing
sense
a.
because he has nothing else but to mock.
He's just randomly choosing one of those fourth level arguments that missing the point. I'll just use something.
It doesn't matter when it's something that he doesn't care about.
Yeah.
It only matters when it's something he does care about. Like ideological garbage.
as a fan of the films than the actual character who within the fiction of the film is the actual son of the guy it belonged to. And he throws it away to sort of kick off his character arc in the film. And instead of sitting there as a grown-up,
What?
as a mature person in the audience watching a film and going, oh, how unexpected, that's interesting. Well, let me see where this goes.
It goes nowhere. He's
That's
literally
the first
grumpy.
thing. That's the first thing, but the other thing, which is even worse, is that whatever happened to get him to that point is basically, you are showing that this guy who was on the path, basically to recreate everything, somehow, which is never really truly explained, somehow got so bitter, so completely out of character that it's an entirely different person.
You're right. They never go into why he is the way he is. He got crushed by a little house when he was training Kylo, and that was it.
I mean, the whole thing just happens because he decides that he has to kill his nephew. Like, that is stupid.
Yeah, he doesn't try and right his wrong. He doesn't try to find him. He just stops and runs away to die. That's it. That is the character arc that the movie gave us, Steve. And we're lied to about it from him and then from Kylo. Until finally we get, oh, well, this is what really happens. Like, okay, thanks for wasting 30 minutes or 40 minutes, whatever it was. And you're like, that's it? That's not Luke. That would not have caused Luke to just throw everything away and give up on his sister and the galaxy and his family. It's his family.
Okay, so the only way they could have made this, as Whisp said, work in any way is if they actually focused on this for the rest of the movie, for the entirety of the movie, rather than this being just a simple gag and nothing else. It would have to be the entire road to how Luke became a, old cynical dude. And we got nothing of that. We just got, this happened and now I'm grumpy.
Yeah.
So it's I would say it's very obvious that people are disappointed.
Yeah.
And the fact that he is refusing to acknowledge that is just...
If we got a rational reason, I don't care if it took, an hour or just 20 minutes. If we got a good reason, or at least a reasonable reason, why Luke is the way he is, we'd be like, oh, okay, that's why he ran away. That's why he's scared. I can't remember the exact line because it was the third reveal of the flashback, and he says, I felt shame or something. I felt whatever emotion he felt. And you're like, okay, but that was like, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, Luke. You're a Jedi. You're like this dude who's totally in touch with his feelings.
He was, in Return of the Jedi, he was way beyond such things already.
Oh, yeah. He grew
the way he behaved
way out of
there.
it. So he would have to fall off that mountain really far. And we never saw that. All we saw was he's old, he's a teacher, and he had a bad vision, and he had a knee-jerk reaction which caused his student to freak out, and that was it. To me, that'd be like, oh shit, I got to go save him and help him and say, hey, that's my fault. I shouldn't have reacted that way. I apologize. Let me help you.
I believe he couldn't be written that way because, as I said, in Return of the Jedi, he was emotionally mature way beyond. He was basically enlightened. And in Star Wars terms.
Yeah.
And in those scenes in TLJ, he was emotionally immature. He was not out of a teenage age in that regard. So he's regressed, which makes no sense. Unless you understand that people like Rian Johnson and J.J. Abrams, who are both not very developed in that regard because they're a bit cuckoo, and especially Rian Johnson seems to be a psychopathic sadist. These people do not understand that state of mind, that level, because they've never been there. They've never made it to that point. Well, they can only write that which they have seen or themselves.
Even without the knowledge of the past films, if you just take Episode 8 as a standalone and you don't know anything about Luke, you'd be like, why is he grumpy? Why is he scared? And you're thinking, there's got to be more. There's got to be more to him than just one weird night trying to peer into his nephew's mind. There's got to be more going on to cause him to just flip out and run away.
Yeah, we're supposed to believe that Luke Skywalker would be faced by some third-rate Dark Force vision.
Or whatever that was all about.
And fall for it.
Yeah. I do know in the comics he immediately meets Snoke after that, or Kylo immediately meets Snoke, and Snoke helps him out. So it was as if Snoke planned it. But, you know, it's supplementary material. You can't have other writers fill in the blanks. And even that is not enough. That doesn't even help out Luke. That just helps out Kylo where he went. So, yeah, no, this is a bad setup. This is a bad execution. And Steve's like, well, give it the opportunity. It's like, Steve, we did. We're not blind and deaf. It did not do the job of building up Luke's character or breaking it down or whatever the process was supposed to be. Ryan did a laugh or a gotcha, whatever you want to call those scenes, because it freaks people out. And he kept doing that.
He's a troll who just wants to get rises out of people.
Yeah, it's something like that. I don't know exactly. I've never seen it exactly what that is, because you could say violence works that way, nudity works that way, gotcha, or not gotcha, jump scares work that way. It's just like, whoa, what's that? And he just kept doing that. You're like, why? What's the point? So the flying fortresses just get torn to shreds. Luke just does random shit that makes no sense. He starts,
it's not a fortress if it's made out of paper mesh and has only one single pew-pew gun in it that shoots out the back.
There's so many scenes where it's like, whoa, that's a thing? Okay, great. I didn't know X-Wings could do that. I didn't know light speed worked that way. I didn't know...
didn't
know Finn could run 1.5 kilometers in like 10 seconds, with dragging someone behind him. All these stupid scenes. I know. There's all these dumb scenes that make no sense.
And nobody shoots at him. The entire Imperium in the big elephant mechs stands there and watches for an hour as Finn drags this stupid woman that is obsessed, has a borderline personality disorder, clearly. Never seen that condition displayed on screen so authentically. And that was completely by accident. And I will just watch as Finn drags her through that salt flat and probably laugh their asses off. Like, what? Please, Steve, have you thought about that? For 1 second.
Yeah. Anyway, we're not going to get into this talking about the movie because we've done it to death, and only when Steve has to bring it up, we'll talk about it. So
there was a time Star Wars didn't have teleporters.
Yeah.
Just write it off and say, oh, he threw the lightsaber away. What's the matter with him? Oh, how dare he? Oh my God, right? Like, you immediately go to that point. So I don't need to take your opinion about this movie seriously.
All right, then we can stop there, because you're clearly mentally deficient, Steve. You're either so that you cannot
It's an excuse. It's just an excuse.
You can't accept
it's
other...
It's all an artificial construct to dismiss other people without having to consider why they think what they think. And so that what he does is... it's horrible when it's your first encounter with people in this mindset. He will... Stop zooming around.
I don't see there's anything else to this video, just him...
No, but how will you know that if you just keep skipping around? People are here to see us suffer.
I'm not suffering. I'm just like, what? Everything he's saying is dumb.
Yes, yes. Wow, what a realization. It's Steve. Everything he said for the past 10 years is dumb. Now, where was I? What was I talking about? Bloody hell.
Yeah, you can't remember because why would you? It's Steve.
Oh, right. No, this is important. When you're dealing with a narcissist or something similar, who is using these underhanded debate tactics, you will give that person, let's say, 3 or 5 points or arguments, points of contention, and explain them very, very well. He will then go for what he believes is the weakest one of those, and these 5, they're all independent points. He will go for the weakest one, say that's silly, and I don't need to consider anything else from you because that point is so stupid and silly, and thinks he's won because by going for the weakest one, he believes he can dismiss all the others that he doesn't have to engage with, that he couldn't refute. That's what he does here. He turns it into a personal attack anyway. Goblin Man.
All right. Well, if he's not going to take this character or person on the internet seriously, I don't know why we should take him seriously at all.
Smut, we've watched Tabernacle and Renegade Card. They're no different from Steve.
I'm going to say Cavernacle's probably more intelligent, or at least went to school.
Ooh. No.
The oranges.
No. I do believe Steve is more intelligent. Steve knows that he's lying. Cavernacle's just dumb.
Oh. I don't know about that. I can't. I
Well,
could swap that around.
it does make some sense.
I could say the same thing about Cavernacle and the opposite about Steve.
Tabernacle never struck me as a liar. He does not have enough thoughts between his ears to lie.
I don't know how you go through university and not have differing opinions. It's almost impossible not
because it's not a university. That's just the letters on the entrance.
Oh, yeah?
It's not what's inside. The substance is gone.
All
Just like Rian Johnson took out the substance from Star Wars.
All right. Well, we're at the 7-minute mark. I don't think we need to continue. If you want to keep going for a little bit longer, then we could.
Yeah, a little bit.
All right.
Come on.
At least a little bit.
The idea that going to see a movie that is one of the worst things that's ever happened to you is I'll take what Darren Mooney says and step it up a little bit further. It's not just odd. It's bizarre.
He said it was psychotic. Do you understand what he said, Steve, or you forgot? Like, what is...
Well, maybe psychotic is a default state for him. That's why he wants to kick it up a notch.
It's...
How's that presidency going for you, Steve?
How is psychotic not odd enough? Like, what are you talking about? It's strange. I can't understand this man. He's weird. Like, thanks, Steve. It's very, very insightful of you.
It's the kind of thing that I am very close to just not getting at all.
You don't. You never
He
arrive.
can't.
You can't arrive at that conclusion.
No, he can't allow himself to arrive there. Because then he would have to consider that there's merit to it.
That there's... I have to think along this person's thoughts. Like, I can't even do that. It's like, what's stopping you, Steve?
He's admitting he has no empathy.
Oh, that's another thing, possibly, yeah. No, I just... Like, if you say, hey, socialism is good, I'm like, okay, what makes socialism good? Let me like, get the reference. Let me get the value. Oh, in a small context with a few people, it can work. It's like, okay, could you give me an example? Yeah, like a family unit. The dad makes all the money. The wife tells him what to do. He does it. Everything. Everyone's happy. Blah blah blah. Like, okay, yeah, I can see where you're coming from. Great. Socialism works within a small family where everyone gets along and puts up with each other's crap. And
that's not socialism.
Well, communalism.
That's a family.
I know. Let's try and use the economic sense of communalism and how that works. Like, we can at least minimalize it to that, right?
Is it communalism?
Communalism.
When the parents control all the wealth?
Kind of. The kids are just there for manual labor, maybe. I don't know.
The kids are the bourgeoisie parasites who exploit the working class, which is the parents.
There you go. We got an entire political system right there between three people. Okay.
And that is why the left hates children.
Oh.
Because children are the bourgeoisie in the family.
Oh, God.
It all makes sense now.
I'm just making it theoretical. Let's just keep going.
And I have not, I feel like I have led neither a charmed life nor a particularly difficult life. I'm kind of in the middle. Most of my life, things for me have gone pretty good. I've never succeeded beyond...
So...
Oh God. Thank you. Steve believes his life hasn't been particularly good or bad. He's just in the middle. He's giving us my Overton window is in the center talk, where just with this topic, because, well, that's what he knows, so what he knows is normal, right? Steve, from all we know about you, the only bad thing that happened in your life was your bloody wife. And that was bad. I mean, the few seconds we've seen, we've witnessed. Holy shit, good you're out of that. But no, your life's sheltered as fuck.
Is the divorce a good or bad thing, I wonder?
Whatever he's lost, it was worth it, because that woman was pure evil. She laughed about him when he was recording his videos, and he kept that in. And that was about feminism topics. Where she laughed about him with, I think, was it something about admitting that men can have problems? And she had the most sinister, arrogant, haughty, sadistic laugh in the background.
Well,
the most dismissive laugh imaginable. And it's just, you know what kind of, what is it? What's the word? What kind of matrimony that was.
Well, whatever the situation he thinks of as divorce in his life, he thinks he's middle of the road. So it's like, all right.
Of course.
If he thinks he's okay, fair enough, I guess. We don't know enough to evaluate what he's talking about. We have no clue.
I think I'm kind of in the middle of the road until I get reality checks and people tell me, no.
Well, that's the thing. If we were to actually talk to Steve and figure this stuff out, he'd be like, oh. Or he would still be oblivious, and we'd be like, okay, Steve, we can't help you. You're just not listening to us.
Steve lacks perspective.
It's like the friend you're trying to help, they're just not listening. It's like, dude, you've gone through like 3 wives, your kids hate you, your job is up in the air, like, what are you doing? Oh, it's good.
Possessions are Star Trek VHSs.
Yeah, everything's okay. I mean, positive outlook's like, okay. Sure. Maybe you change a bit there. Okay, no, everything's fine.
Well, it's difficult when you are at a certain age and you have this solidified worldview and you kind of you realize deep down, it's all shit. It's all bullshit, actually. It's all House of Cards. But if it breaks down, I'll have nothing, and it will be very painful to build a new thing, to put 2 new cards together, and to have like one little triangle. So that horrible House of Cards that you have gets very hard protected and maybe glued together so that it doesn't fall. And that's what he's doing here. That's why he's lying to himself and to us when he says, and shakes his head.
It's a common neutral stance to say that I'm middle of the road. I'm just like you. I have no hang-ups. So far, he hasn't said I'm not biased, but I think we know what he'll say about certain topics. So, but that's a common tactic in debating or arguing. It's like, okay, or even the Socratic method. I am an idiot. I don't even know what I'm talking about. I'm not smart. You tell me. So, this is what it sounds like to me, at least. Anyway, almost at 8 minutes.
Expectations. I've never been at the absolute top of the world, but I've never really had to suffer the torments of the damned either. I've had great days. I've had what I consider bad days, terrible days, but for the most part, life has been pretty good. Even for me,
if you can,
the
be
idea
so happy.
Of regarding a bad movie and the experience of seeing a bad movie as one of the worst things that's ever happened to me is ridiculous.
Why?
He's so hung up on the turn of phrase.
Yeah. And he's been like swallowing a lot and like tensing his neck. I don't know what's going on there, but he is really tense at this point.
I can tell you what's going on. He has no other point that he can actually contest. He has to be hung up on a colloquial. That's all he can do. If he goes on at any point, he can't.
I'm still not following this logic of saying, well, I'm pretty middle of the road, but to get hung up on a film or media or whatever, is the worst thing in the world. It's like, if it was just a one-off thing, like, okay, this is a B movie, that's another story. That'd be weird. If you got hung up over watching like The Room, like, oh my God, it was traumatic. It's like, it's The Room. It was a poorly put together, silly movie that didn't know what it was trying to do.
Smart, I'm sure there is some film aficionado out there who got traumatized by The Room and is hung up about it and could use a friend like you to get him through it.
Oh God. But for the biggest film franchise in the world that people have very memorable childhoods about, of all walks of life, no matter even if you enjoy science fiction or sci-fi, to come to the prequel or the sequel trilogy and have all these expectations and to be brought down so low, yes, that could be one of the worst things in the world, outside of like your dad dying or your mom dying or your wife dying. Or that could be pretty bad too. But these stories are not elderly gentleman stories. These are like, guys in their middle age.
I mean, effectively, Steve, you are a Democrat, right? Which means rule by majority. The majority has decided that the biggest movie franchise that was thought unkillable is dead now because nobody's watching it anymore. And TLJ was the big one that led to that downfall. The Force Awakens started it, but that was TLJ was the big one. And why do you disagree with the majority? Why do you say the majority is wrong and they should like the thing instead? What are you? An insurrectionist? How dare you tell the majority that they're wrong? The majority is always right, Steve. That's what democracy is all about, isn't it?
I feel like we have nothing to say about Steve at this point that we haven't already said, so we're just trying to like use what we know.
Well, you can't convince a liar of the truth.
It's like we know Steve likes two series, and he loves politics. So it's like, all right, let's use that. We've said it all already. Steve.
He needs a friend.
Is fucking like that thought would never even, if you I don't know what would, I don't even know what would be on this list, but if I were to sit down and try to make a list of the worst things that ever happened to me.
No. Make a list of the worst movies you've ever watched and tell us why. That would be the easiest, because I don't think you can compare life to this other person's story about his worst experience, which happens to be a movie.
I think the worst movies I've watched, I've repressed the memories of.
Oh God, like the Highlander series after the first.
Oh my God, I watched the Highlander movies. Oh my God, why did you remind me of them? I watched all of them, all 6. Oh my God, does it get better?
There are 6?
They have 23 producers at the end.
Yeah, that was your choice, bub.
I like the miniseries, the one on TV.
The cartoon?
I never saw the cartoon. I saw a bit of the movie, the animated movie, and I saw, I think, all of the Adrian Paul series, and there was a spin-off called The Raven, which was one of the chick. She was like a thief. I saw a bit of that. Those were fun. Those were like after school sort of things. You're just like, oh yeah, I remember seeing Adrian Paul doing his thing.
I can't believe. Yeah, go on. Sorry.
Yeah, so like I wouldn't say they're good drama, but the sword fights were fun. They had all kinds of different styles and weapons, and there was the Watchers, and they were was one guy he was a really good villain. He was running around killing all the immortals. I'm like, oh, this is awesome. And the only problem was they ended it with this magical demon immortal guy that Duncan MacLeod killed, and now he has the power of like illusion. It's like, how the hell are you going to stop him? And then they made a movie about that. I'm like, oh, that's not going to be good. That's stupid. So
yeah, well, I can't believe this just happened. That I said I don't remember the bad things I watched because they were so bad. I probably repressed the memories. And you bring up Highlander, and it all bursts out like from a ripe pimple. Holy. This is what I mean. We don't remember these things for long, Steve. We eventually just think like, oh God, that was bad. But the thing is, with Highlander, we had the first movie, okay, done. The rest we won't even watch, just like Dragonheart, which is such a pity. But this Star Wars, that's a whole nother magnitude. That's not just the couple of people who kind of are fond of the idea of the franchise.
Yeah.
This is the big one.
I wonder, did he like Star Trek Generations or any of the TNG movies?
I don't know.
They were really bad. Not some of them are okay, but a lot of them are just bad films. Period. Like, can you not at least like empathize with this other person, even if it's not as extreme as that? I would say they're not god awful, but they're pretty bad. Like, go with that, Steve. Go with your love of Star Trek and go, oh yeah, those Star Trek films are pretty bad. Yeah, okay. Start there.
Seeing any would not be on the list. And as Darren says in his thread, I've seen a lot of movies, and I've seen a lot of movies that I really didn't like. I personally tried to avoid using the word hate.
Why?
Because I think that expresses an emotion that is stronger than the one I actually feel.
So you have no hatred to media? Really? Are you like the most boring person? You just sit there and go, oh yeah.
Yes.
Pictures on the screen. Wow. I'm going to go look at other pretty lights when the movie's over. Yay.
It raises the question what he even thinks a movie is. On the assumption that he does believe what he's saying, which I don't believe. I don't believe that he believes what he's saying. But if he does, what is a movie, Steve?
What was that guy who said, plots don't matter, the guy on YouTube? I think he also said stuff like, I want films to make me feel something. I want an emotion, which is great. Mm-hmm. But there's a certain way to get to drama. You have to understand the process. The writer has to know how that works. The actors have to know how to do that. The script has to get that way conveyed. And some people say, well, that's not the point of a film. The point of a film is to tell a story. And a story can involve drama, but it's up to the audience to interpret it that way and to feel the same things as the characters are going through, at least in a third-party sort of way. Steve obviously doesn't care about that. He's like, no, it's just stuff on the screen. It's just moving pictures. It's all illusion. It's not real. If it's not real, why do you care so much, Steve? Well,
there's another problem here, because he has ascribed to the ideology that doesn't believe in reality per se, for whom everything is narrative. But if everything is narrative, why then suddenly does the narrative of a movie not matter?
Well, the reason I brought this up is because people who don't really care about books and movies and music and media in general, their lives are already complex and fulfilling and whatever enough that to see a fictional version is like, who cares? It doesn't affect me. I've lived that, or I've done that, or it doesn't matter. Or I live an already more exciting life than this other drama about some guy playing the piano or whatever.
Which is one of the great appeals of science fiction settings.
Right,
because,
but...
Well, it may still be something that resembles something that you've been through, but now it has spaceships.
Well, what I'm saying is Steve is not that type of person who doesn't look at media and go, whatever. Steve clearly cares about media. He clearly cares about science fiction, or sci-fi at least. So what exactly are you trying to say, Steve? That movies that are bad, you don't hate, but you can love them? This does not make sense to me. Because if you love something, that means you have standards, expectations, considerations, values of something that you've already watched, like Star Trek, Star Wars, whatever, and you go, oh, this I like more. If you like something more, then you'll find something you like less. And
love isn't real. It's just brain chemicals and bioelectricity. But hate, that's real. And
it's like eating an apple, and then a month later eating another apple and going, oh yeah, I remember eating the same kind of apple. This one is a bit sweeter. I like this one more. It makes my taste buds flare up more and my brain go ooh more, and my body get all this sugar. It's like oh, so you like, when apples are made by a certain produce maker or, fresher or whatever. Yeah. You could even say you love it that way. And you keep having those apples until you get this apple fixation or this apple standard that you say this is what apples are. And then when you have like a Granny Smith or you have, a Golden Delicious that's different, and you go, ooh, this isn't good. This isn't what I expected. This doesn't taste like anything like what I remember what apples should taste like. And that's just eating fruit. Can you imagine how complex stories are and how many he's seen and how many movies over the decades? Like, I highly doubt Mr. Moviegoer here never loved or hated a film. Because if as soon as you say I loved a film, that means you hated another. Or you liked a film, that means you disliked another.
You must be capable of hating another.
You have to. It is natural. But to say
the best apple is morning fragrance.
I know, but I hate this idea that you can't admit you hate something because hatred is evil or bad. No, it's not. That means you have enough intelligence and experience to say this is so bad. I am now having an emotional reaction after I've experienced it and compared it to all my other experiences. The same with liking something. Why do I think this is the best side-scroller in history, or this is the best video game story in history, or this or that series out of the Final Fantasy series? Why is that my favorite? Blah, blah, blah. There's reasons. It's not because, it made me feel something. It's like, why did it make me feel it? Let me look at that. Let me analyze that thing about that scene. And I know that's against the Gestalt theory of like you shouldn't analyze individual components because it takes away from the experience of life and blah, blah, blah. Well, you got to start somewhere. And you could argue like, the artwork is, 20 years old or it's 8-bit synthesizer, blah, blah, blah. It's like, I don't care. For whatever reason. I like the 90s and their appeal to video gaming more than the 2000s for whatever reason.
TOJ did make me feel something. It made me feel disgusted and it made me feel insulted.
Yeah, this is
it
what
insulted my intelligence.
He needs to accept that other people dislike a thing that he likes so much more, and you just need to listen to why. That's it, Steve. That's all you got to do. And you could still disagree, but you still have to say, okay, I know where he's coming from because he said reason X, Y, and Z. And then you wouldn't make stupid videos like this. You wouldn't make ignorant, childish, stupid videos. And I don't
Steve was
know.
vaguely aware that if he ever left the cult, the mob, that throws rocks and bottles to the outside of the mob, he would be hit by those bottles and rocks. So he can't leave the mob. And he would have nothing outside the mob. The mob is Eden. You don't want to leave Eden.
Anyway, I don't like these, anyone who disagrees with me, they're just a hater. It's like, they do hate things for reasons. They're not emotional weirdos who hate for the sake of hating. They dislike because they know what is good. And they have this higher standard that you obviously do not possess. And I don't even know where he's coming from at this point because he's just saying disagreement statements because person disagree. I disagree with person, therefore I must make up some excuse. All right, we're at 9 minutes. I'm going to stop at around 10 because this is just silly.
Hey, that's almost halfway.
Yeah.
A lot of really lousy movies that I did not like at all and that I found to be of little artistic value to me, right? I've seen a lot of movies like that. I've seen movies like that in theaters. I've had the experience of going into a movie theater, looking forward to seeing the movie, and then being really, really, really disappointed in the movie that I actually watched.
Did you hate that experience? Did you say to yourself, I hate the fact I wasted my time and money? Did you ever, that ever happen to you, Steve? Because that happens to me all the time.
That happened to something that was dear to you in your childhood.
This is normal. This is healthy. This is like, oh my God, I actually have standards. I have a memory of things I like. And the thing I'm experiencing is not what I like anymore. This is normal.
the way he behaves with this is almost as if he could only perceive people having attachments only to the things that he likes.
Mm-hmm.
So if he likes it, then people can have attachment to it. If he doesn't like it or is indifferent about it, then people shouldn't have attachments to it.
Yeah, it's his interpretation or none. There's no other way of figuring out how emotions work or whatever hatred is to him. Can you imagine? I really dislike the film. It's like, just use the word hate. There's nothing wrong. And if this is all just semantics, then what the hell is he arguing?
Yeah, the crazy thing is that while people accuse us artists of not getting metaphors, which in part is true, you can learn them. What's stranger though is that somebody like Steve gets hung up on a what's another word, on hyperbole.
Probably
Something you just say to make a point, to say this was extraordinarily bad.
Yeah.
Not just regular bad, but special kind of explosive diarrhea bad.
And this was
and that's all he complains about.
And the reason why I would also possibly argue it's hyperbole on this person who made the tweet thread is it's on Twitter. That is like the number one social media site for the knee-jerk reaction of just saying whatever's on the top of your head. So I don't use Twitter much aside from posting whenever I make a video or reading the news, because that's why I don't know why else you'd use it. I don't know, use Grok. Grok is cool, I guess. But I wouldn't put too much weight into what people say on Twitter unless it links to an article or a video or something. But even then, the videos will have people articulate why they hate The Last Jedi, which has happened for years. People are still talking about The Last Jedi. It's that bad.
Movie history.
Yeah, Steve was like, oh, it's just a movie, guys. Why are you so weird about it? It's like, okay, Steve, sure. I'm sure your hobbies are just hobbies.
Nothing matters.
Had that experience with a Star Wars movie. Not The Last Jedi. I thought The Last Jedi was great.
Yeah.
But Attack of the Clones. I went and saw Attack of the Clones in theaters when it came out in 2002. I thought it was fucking garbage. It was, and
Did you hate it? You just said it was fucking garbage. If you're trying to be emotional, you're doing a very good job, but you can't use the word hate? It's garbage. It's not just, it's fucking garbage.
Mm-hmm.
Steve, do you understand your emotions at all? Do you understand what words and how they work?
No, he's a child. And he's not somebody who preserved his child. He is a child.
So the prequel films, those are fucking garbage, but he doesn't hate them. Are we just arguing semantics, Steve? Is that what are you wasting our time again?
He's wasting everyone's time.
Oh.
He's wasting his own time.
Well, I said 10 minutes, or the 10-minute mark, so...
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
you can do it, Smud.
It's just... every time we cover him, I'm like, dude, give me 30 seconds of your time, and I will see whether you're even up to talking to another human being.
was, in its way, it was a depressing experience. Because I do love, people think of me when...
Okay, so it's fucking garbage and depressing, but you still don't hate it. Okay, do you want it to like kill your firstborn, then you hate it? Like what does it take? What's the threshold here?
He is so ringing for words.
It's
Resting for words? How do you say that in English?
I don't hate. That's too strong an emotion. It's like, it's an emotion, buddy.
He's desperately trying to not say hate now.
Yeah. Because that's a word only the right wing uses, I guess, to describe the woke, and woke is good, and Okay.
Yeah, we fight against hate. We fight for love, not blah and blah.
YouTube, you probably think of me more as a Star Trek person, and I am. I am more of a Star Trek person than...
So you would say you love Star Trek more than you love Star Wars, or maybe you only like Star Wars. Is that a good descriptor, Steve?
Was there a Star Trek product that you hated, Steve?
Well, that's where we'd have to go, because if you really like something the most, I'd say you love it. And then in that thing, there's a huge body of work of Star Trek novellas that are garbage, and all kinds of years of Star Trek which are also garbage. So I would say I hate quite a few Star Trek episodes. So yeah, Steve, what's wrong with? Or is he one of those guys where
I really hate some.
Yeah, can Star Trek do no wrong? Is that like his wife? Like he loves his wife, she could do no wrong. I hate nothing about her. Was that the kind of attitude he had?
Yeah.
That is inhumane, sir.
Well, it's the talk of a liar, because he doesn't truly believe these things. He's just skirting around words in order to keep up the lie he led with.
I feel
in
like,
order to dismiss critique of the big woke movie.
yeah, I feel like this video length, or him in general, when he makes a video, is his form of therapy. Because if he wanted to criticize a person and their opinions in an articulate, intellectual way, he would address the actual statements and then criticize them in a normal way, in a textbook. Point one, here's my contrary opinion. Point two, here's my like you just go down the list. But he's like talking to you like, oh, why are they? It's just a film. Like what is wrong? It's like, dude, what is your problem? What's the issue here? You still can't accept that people disagree with you? So you have to criticize their use of language when they're not saying anything controversial about, like, I hate something, or the worst experience of my life? Like, so what? Maybe you lost your leg in a boating accident. That was the worst experience. Fair enough. He didn't. To him, it was a movie. Okay? Get on with it. This is childish crap.
I love Star Wars. I had Yoda.
Oh. So he likes, or he's a bigger Star Trek fan than Star Wars, but he loves Star Wars.
Yeah. The emotion that is almost the same as love is not allowed, though.
So because he loves something, he can't hate it? Really? Star Wars? It's huge. There's plenty to love and hate in Star Wars. That's the strange... You could love your family, but there's plenty to hate about your family. They're not perfect.
How can you... If you are closer to Star Trek, really, how can you insist that everything about Star Wars has to be loved? Oh, well, not everything, because he didn't like Attack of the Clones.
Yeah, but he didn't hate it. Which makes no sense.
Yeah.
Why can't you hate the thing that you really, really dislike?
Loving TLJ makes no sense. You have to be a deranged, illogical creature that doesn't even have sensible emotional reactions. There is a logic to emotions.
I feel like this guy barely got out of high school, never argued with anyone in his life, never opened up a philosophy textbook, never learned how to debate. And now he's just putting himself into these logical barriers of like and dislike, and here's this upper limit for love, but I can't go too far below because that's...
Well, how are you supposed to learn any of that if you're living with a narcissistic, gaslighting wife for who knows how long?
I don't know what this guy learned in school, but it wasn't helping his development as a person. Which I don't like saying because that's a personal attack, but it's like, dude, every time he opens his mouth, it's like, this can't, there has to be something behind this. It has nothing to do with the franchise or the lore or whatever.
What Steve needs to do is ground himself. Sit down, meditate, open meditation, not mindfulness bullshit, not focused stuff that will just turn him actually psychotic. Just open meditation. Just sit down and let your thoughts pass by. Reflect on yourself. It'll be painful, but it'll be worth it. You'll be free, Steve.
All right. We got 10 seconds.
I was a kid. My mom was a huge Star Wars fan. My mom's brother, my uncle, was a huge Star Wars fan. They went to see Star Wars movies together whenever one came out for a year, like well into their adulthood, right?
And then
so,
TLJ came.
In certain ways, I'm a Star Wars baby as well as a Star Trek baby. I love Star Wars. And I was really looking forward to seeing Attack of the Clones. And I saw it, and I thought it was awful. I thought it was one of the worst movies I've ever seen. I still think that, by the way.
Why?
I have a very low opinion of all three of the Star Wars prequels. But I think and everybody hates on Phantom Menace for reasons which I totally get, but I actually think Attack of the Clones is the worst one of the three. I think it's an awful movie, and I did not enjoy seeing it.
Why?
Was it the worst experience of my life? No. I went to...
But did you hate it?
Oh, I now know why he's doing this.
Mm-hmm.
He cannot empathize. He cannot empathize at all. That is why he is thinking that way. Because he cannot think of the possibility of someone living a life where seeing a horrible movie would actually be one of the worst experiences. Cannot put himself in that position at all.
I don't see why people don't do that naturally when they're trying to listen to someone, because that's what you do.
Because that's not a natural skill, Smart. You have to develop that.
Well, if someone says, I disagree because I don't like, I don't know, mustard on my hot dog, you're like, okay, let me think about putting mustard on my hot dog. Oh, wait, I've done that before. Oh, it has that mustard flavor. Maybe they don't like that. Oh, I get it now. You don't like the sharp, sweet, tangy flavor. Oh, okay, I get it. That's all it takes. It's just thinking.
Yeah, smart. That's a hallmark of narcissism.
Oh, really?
To not be able to do that.
Who cares?
That's part of why narcissism is narcissism.
Who cares what other people think and feel? I'm going to make believe I know what they're talking about so I can just keep regurgitating that.
It's not just not care. It's that they're truly incapable
Oh, yeah?
of putting themselves into the shoes of others. That's why they suck at role-playing.
I'm going to say if he is a narcissist, he's one of the dumbest ones I've ever heard about. I still want to chalk it up to he's being so biased.
He's lying.
There
are parts where he is lying about his position.
Something's going on. I don't care what to know. I don't want to know, but it's so aggravating. Just listening to him is like, are you so close-minded that you cannot say the word hatred or even try to understand what the other person's saying? And be like,
things can only be double plus ungood now.
I know, but like when I try to understand people who love a thing, it's very simple. It's like, okay, you like it because it's fun, and fun is a very subjective thing. And you're like, okay, why is it fun? What's the video game? Why is it good? No. Okay, fine, cool. You like jumping up and down. You like shooting things. You like collecting power ups. That's great. I'm not here to talk about exactly what's fun because that's kind of subjective. You can get into the nitty-gritty of gameplay mechanics and GUIs being bad and response times from the processor, etc. I'm more concerned about the narrative and how that works to make me motivate to keep playing the game or keep reading the book or whatever the case may be, so that I like a thing despite the flaws. And the flaws are usually gameplay related. And that's why we talk about games like Planescape Torment, and then the opposite, which would be like Street Fighter or Castlevania, where it's all mechanics, it's all technique, it's all control. And we understand that because that's the medium. And the medium gives us this wonderful input and this wonderful narrative, voice acting, etc., to experience what's happening in the story. Steve says, wait, this thing, which is a passive experience, you want to say movies are passive, I disagree, but let's say it's passive, is a good thing. I like everything about it. But when someone disagrees with you, and he says, and he gave reasons, he barely gave us any reasons aside from he's hung up on the person having the worst experience of his life. He's like, how could you dislike this perfect thing that I love so much? Instead of addressing that and accepting that, since someone disagrees with me, he just shrugs his shoulders like, this is so weird, so goofy, it's so odd, I can't understand it. As opposed to listening to why the person dislikes the thing and then going, well, now I can't understand exactly this point here and that point there. That's what you should be doing. as opposed to just going. This has been 10 minutes. He's hung up on this word.
Yeah.
He cannot figure it out.
This little hyperbole comment, judgment. This wrap up. So says this was one of the worst experiences in my life. Okay.
Yeah, move on.
And for him, he has to take it literal because otherwise he has nothing to say.
All right. Well, we're gonna go to memes because we're done the 10-minute mark, and I don't think we're gonna learn anything at all. All right, here we go. Steve Shives on his way to block someone without ever interacting with them. Yeah.
Yes, smoke bitch.
Steve Shives when
I
someone is
can't
able
even
to...
imagine that the first block lists were entirely made by him.
This is good. Steve Shives when someone is able to have fun with a video game that's more difficult than Candy Crush.
Oh, no.
Confused screaming. How does it work? Why? Why is it not like me?
And then another one.
Darren Mooney. Yeah, we barely know anything about this guy. When someone is able to passionately express dislike of a movie. Yeah, exactly. He must be having a psychotic interlude or whatever. It's like, yeah, you can call it whatever you like, but it's not some psychological deficiency, but you can describe having a visceral reaction psychotic. I see nothing wrong with that. Me when someone insults the many infamous movies that I love, some of which have literally earned Razzies. Okay. TLJ shills when someone criticizes the multi-million-dollar movie part of one of the most famous and successful film franchises that literally has a 91% on Rotten Tomatoes. Yeah. Enjoy what you like. Hate what you like. It's not going to change. You've heard of Elf on a Shelf. Now get ready for... calamari on a counter?
Akbar on a snack bar.
Okay.
They aren't very good snacks, though.
That feeling when knee surgery is tomorrow. Really?
Oh, no.
Relax, it's just a movie.
Good luck with that. Good luck with your knee surgery.
Yeah. MFs when the movie is Birth of a Nation. Okay. Relax, it's just a movie. Triumph of the Will. Yeah. Well,
Oh.
maybe not. Maybe not a good movie for Steve. Steve's wife's last words after the divorce. Okay. Well. This anime from the 80s is more Star Wars than The Last Jedi. Heavy Metal?
Matal El Gaim?
I never heard of that.
No.
Looks
The
cool.
mech looks cool.
Yeah.
The image looks AI generated, though.
Kind of. Yeah. A little bit. The shading kind of throws me off. And this
I'll
dude
put that
is...
on the list.
What is that? Is that from the film or from the anime?
Probably.
Interesting. There's so many cool 80s anime I've never watched yet, so...
80s had the best style.
Oh, yeah. Thinking Cap. This is good for the story. Okay. Literally nothing happened because they killed themselves. Is that...
Is that the Fallout thing?
No.
No, the Last of Us?
Yeah, I think so. I haven't watched it, but I heard that was like... The entire episode was dedicated to these two gay men and it has nothing to do with...
How can you make a show with 6 episodes and then you have filler? How do you have filler? How do you have room for filler in a show that's so short?
Well, we always point to the fetishes of the writer as an excuse, so I don't know what's going on here. What else we got here? Jontron Perfect Yoda, you know what that means? All right, I'll watch that later. More Star Wars than TLJ, Transformers the movie? Not exactly. It is big. The scope is about the same size, yeah. Wisp, what is that? The masks.
That is a Carthaginian mask of I better not say out loud.
Oh, I thought it was a reference to one of the worst TNG episodes.
Well, it's a face that Steve likes to make,
Oh.
and other people.
4 seconds. I'm not going to play it. Gamer Nexus, thanks, Steve. Yeah, I'm going to watch it later. Steve tried. I don't think he's ever tried.
Tired.
Rethink your weekend. Fried foods and beer, 1,500 calories. Monster Hunter and Jack Daniels, 65 calories. Well, first off, beer is delicious.
Beer is a meal.
And I need at least 1,000 calories. I don't know about you, but at least.
That is a horrible beer glass, by the way.
Well, it's beer is beer. I'll drink
It's
it.
disgusting. There's also no crown on it. What is this stale piss water?
Maybe it took a long time to get the shot right, so they poured it like an hour ago.
Then you pour a new one.
You finished the one.
You drink the beer, you pour a new one.
Exactly. The cameraman's taking you like, drink the damn beer. Okay. Yeah, don't do JD with Monster Hunter. That's not going to end well.
Why?
You need to get some nutrition in you.
It's a workout.
Daydreams about chicks with dicks. I don't want to think that's true. How hard is it not to buy a video game? How hard is it? What? He actually made a video about that topic. That's a thought process in his head. I adore you, Steve. Jesse Gender. Yeah, thanks, Jesse.
Oh, no.
Anyway. I don't know. Jesse Gender has sort of lost the plot over the years.
Oh, God.
Uno.
I don't want to think about it.
Express dislike of a movie or draw 25. Yeah. He cannot say, I really, really, really dislike a film, because that implies hatred. And hatred
because
is bad.
TLJ is a hallmark for the culture war, so it cannot be criticized. It's the holy cow.
I'm not sure Hudson Hawk is more Star Wars than TLJ. I don't think that's even the same genre. It is a cool film, though. Steve and Stuffy and the Orange Nightmare? What?
I don't want to think about it.
I
I'll
don't.
put it in the repression box together with Highlander 6.
Anyway. Yeah, that was Steve Shives, and that's as much as we can tolerate. We're not going to cover this tomorrow because we're happy people, and we want to keep going happy and keep our minds intact.
We have backlog.
We do have that. We also have lives, and we have better things to do than to listen to a video about a guy who can't admit when he hates something, which is like I could name you all kinds of things I hate. It's very human and normal to do that, and he can't.
Yeah, because hate is the unword now.
Really?
Yes,
When
it's an
was this?
unword.
I thought
They
liberals.
can't use the word now because hate is what the enemies of the left do.
I thought liberals
By
were all about
definition.
free speech and expressing
No.
yourself and being emotional and subjective.
No, that's why it's atheism plus now.
But that
It's
was
atheism plus censorship plus socialism plus feminism.
really well.
Mm.
I'm going to be happy when the
Plus
liberals in Canada are
Accusing everyone.
out of power and we could get rid of all those stupid language law bills we've had for 6-7 years now, so we can actually say what we want and not possibly go to jail for. That's nice.
Man, are you implying that the Trudeau administration brought you closer to an authoritarian dystopian terror state?
That was already done 2.5 years ago with the trucker convoy. So,
The nice free Canada.
Yeah. We're a special bunch.
You just turned into East Germany. How so surprising how quick that can happen, isn't it?
Give an idiot too much power. Yeah, they abuse it. Who knew? Yeah. Anyway, that was fun, kind of, to listen to a crazy man. Or at least
We can go on.
Well, I'd rather take a break and get some tea and remind myself that we have intellects for reading books and analyzing things and enjoying life.
My one weakness.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you guys for your time. I can't remember our other video to cover, but we might be doing it tomorrow or Monday. Who knows? We'll figure it out.
I'm sure it was something stupid.
Yeah, well, that's how it goes. Anyway, thanks for your time. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great night. Bye-bye.
Good night.